Memorial Day. And with Memorial Day came the Memorial Day Parade in Bainbridge, New York. It was a nice parade this year, and I was in it in the band. They had nice cars, old tractors, and family, friends of all ages came out to enjoy the day. And I said I was in the band, so here we are. But for the real reason why you guys tuned in, with the new license now, I can pretty much go anywhere I need to watch a train. I was scouring this spot in Sydney, New York. This is at milepost 576. It has a spur track where Norfolk Southern stores equipment on. For example, today a side dump car used in maintenance away service was sitting on that track. There was nothing in Sydney, so I moved about 12 miles south to Afton, New York, where we would catch an S11R. For power today, the 11R had an SD60 and two AC44 C6Ms, the norm, but they had an older C40-8 Pan Am Railways number 7552, which is actually owned by CSX, since CSX bought Pan Am Railways in June 2022. This train got an approach signal telling it to stop at the next signal.
587, main, south, approach, out.
The 11R had its usual cuts for trash for Alabama, a manifest block, and auto racks at the back, which are empty. The current plan was that 11R would stop on the main and wait for the 16R to go on to the siding here in Afton, New York. 11R would wait out the 16 and then continue south once the 16R made it to CP 587, which is where we are right now. The train is going under the former D&H signal tower here. You can see its replacement in the foreground. As we keep watching this train, we can see that it keeps going slower and slower, anticipating the meet. Tonight's train had good rolling stock with this former Southern Pacific auto rack, and in the manifest section was a former Conrail coil car. Also at Afton was this amazing house right next to the siding. Signals were red the other way. I raced to Harpursville Trestle to catch the 11R one more time, as 16 was not quite ready to leave, so the dispatcher gave him permission to leave. However, 11R would have its own troubles. This time, it would have trouble with its air brakes. Here's that AC SCS PTC box that's used on the Pan Am / MEC. 11R had trouble recharging its brakes after the stop. They came to an emergency stop here at milepost 589.7. Once again, the plan changed, and here was that 16R. 16R met the 11R in Harpursville after the trouble. He passed him with no problem, and 16 was on its way. With an SD60, an SD70 ACC, and a -9, he was charging north in the night. The 16R is the exact opposite of the 11R. Unlike the 11R, it did not have the blue trash containers from Michigan. He does have a manifest block, but all the trash containers are empty while the auto racks are loaded on this train. The next morning brought another 11R. Unfortunately, we were on the backlit side of the 11R as I had to get to school, and I barely beat the final bell by maybe 2 seconds. But today's 11R has 6 locomotives. 2 locomotives of interest, one of them being the Savannah and Atlanta Heritage Unit, while the other is an MEC-840 CW that used to be owned by MEC, but now is back in CSX hands. The next train I had plenty of time for, as the next train was 264. The power is the same power from that 11R we saw earlier in the video, just missing one AC44C6M, the 4268. With MEC 7552 trailing, 264 comes out of Chicago and is bound for Air, Massachusetts. And I wasn't the only one watching, as a drone was flying all around the place. We're filming on location at the old D&H station here in Bainbridge, New York, about in the center of town. This station is now the village clerk's office. It used to serve trains every day from the Albany and Susquehanna days in 1851 to the D&H days. Here's a piggyback trailer. These were once common on all intermodal trains. They are common in other parts of the country. However, due to the containers, they have rapidly disappeared over the years. As the day went on, the bunnies were hopping and the trains were rolling. For example, this 11R was rolling by in the middle of the night. Not all the power was from Norfolk Southern, as CSX SD70 MEC 4531 made another appearance on the D&H. To see more footage of the 4531, check out the last video and the video before. As you can see, tonight's train wasn't very long. I only shaved off about 15 seconds of train with the edit cut. The train tonight was mostly covered hoppers, a few boxcars and tanks. On the next day, 265 made its way south. There was one thing it was missing, and that was an SD60 leader. For whatever reason, this 265 didn't have one. But it was a treat to see a non-SD60 leader on one of the Massachusetts trains. .265 is daily intermodal traffic from Ayer, Massachusetts to Chicago, Illinois. On his journey, he works Mechanicsville, New York, Binghamton, New York, and Buffalo, New York. He will occasionally have blue trash containers at the front, but tonight they weren't on. He has a Mechanicsville section and an AR section. The Mechanicsville section here are all double stacks, while the AR section is empties and singles. AR Massachusetts can't accept double stacks due to height restrictions on the Pan Am due to low tunnels. The AR section tonight is hardly making a dime for the railroad, as the AR section is all empties for the most part, with a few containers scattered here and there. That 265 would meet 16R in Afton, and about 25 minutes later, 16R rounded the bend and entered the town of Bainbridge, New York. Tonight's 16R has an SD-60 leader and 2 old soldiers with 2 -944 CWs, both wearing NS's iconic paint schemes. The Thoroughbred paint scheme, also known as the White Stripe, and the Horsehead scheme. 16 has its normal cuts of manifests, trash, and auto racks. The rack of interest with the Southern Pacific auto rack. We might have missed this CSX unit, but we didn't miss these two. The second unit in the contest, CSXT 7835, was sold to MEC by CSX. CSX would reacquire the engine in June 2022 when CSX bought Pan Am Railway. Today's 264 had a container of interest with a JB Hunt Veterans container honoring over 6,480 veterans nationwide. Occasionally, 264 will have racks at its bottom end, and today it did. While I ran the model trains in the morning, at night, it was time to get back to business with the real things. That night, an extra train, K77, came south. A train out of Delanson with a flat car that holds a switch and empty trash spines.
See you, boys.
The cool thing about tonight's train was that the thunder was in the background and that this was an extra train, so this is not a normal operating train on the D&H. So let's check it out. For power tonight, you've got an old Dash 9 and an AC44 C6M. Next up that night was NS31T. 31T is from Binghamton, New York, and its final destination is Montreal, Quebec, Canada. This train runs on the Norfolk Southern, the Canadian Pacific, and ends on the Canadian National. T composes a lot of empties, especially with the boxcars being empty. They usually carry Canadian paper products south. The center beams being empty, they usually bring lumber from Canada. And some flat cars that carry telephone poles were also empty. This was the empty returning from loads to bring back down south to Binghamton. One day I was scouring around, and I found this at Sydney. Besides the side dump car, there was an old turnout flat car with a brand new turnout for Sydney waiting and ready. The next day we moved on to Afton. There was nothing in Afton, so I continued on to Harpursville. Harpursville is famous to the famous Harpursville Trestle. This amazing structure has been carrying trains for years. Probably ever since the Albany-Susquehanna days. It definitely served the D&H. There's thousands of pictures of Harpursville Trestle. Here's one from the early 1980s. We would chase this train 16R from Harpursville to Bainbridge, New York. To you, that's a good 10 miles or so. So let's enjoy watching the train pass over the trestle and fly right past us in Bainbridge. Unusual about tonight's 16R was that it had 4 units instead of the normal 3. The reason why it had 4 units was because CSXT ES44AH 703 34 in the concept would have mechanical issues and would just idle all the way north to AR until it could be repaired. So the crew add on NS-944CW number 9633 to the end of their locomotive flash up for the extra horsepower. If you listen carefully, you can hear the train's horn sounding for all the crossings in Baybridge, New York. Our final train in the video is NS31T once again, with a newer NSET44AC number 3603, lashed up with an older Dash 944 CW. It was nice to see young and old working together to bring this train all the way north. 31T is actually kind of a funny train. There's an EOT on the second to last car and on the last car. And speaking of end, that's all we got. Thanks for watching. God bless. See you on the bed.